and welcome to episode 14 of the Tea and Possibilities podcast. I'm Nikki and this is a podcast all about knitting, crochet, all the yarny goodness and crafting all the things. This week I am coming to you from London and I will apologise in advance. This is the only room with fairly good light, where the light doesn't change too often, and I know it's a little bit echoey. I will do my best to slow down and talk clearly, but I hope you will forgive me for just this once. You can find me at hippie_Nikki on Instagram and Twitter. You can also find me on Ravelry as Nikki Hippie, and there is a Tea and Possibilities group on Ravelry as well if you search for that under the groups tab. As always, all the show notes will be available on my blog and you can find the links to everything just down there. I would love to say a massive welcome back to returning viewers. Thank you so much for coming back. And to any new viewers, welcome and thank you for giving me a shot. As I said at the beginning, this is not where I usually podcast. I usually podcast from my flat in Portsmouth. Unfortunately, I'm in a transitional period at the moment, which means that I will sometimes be podcasting from my home in London. And unfortunately, I don't have a dedicated podcast space here. This week's tea is in my Happy Hufflepuff mug. And it is Purple Blush by Williamson again. I'm getting to the end of the tin, so I'm starting to eke them out a little bit. They're little treats now. I try not to have them too often because when you get to the end of the tin, you want to really savour the last few. So this week I am not having it with lemon or milk or anything. I'm just having it completely on its own. I really appreciate a tea that you can have in a variety of ways. So I would absolutely recommend this. I would definitely be looking for some more Williamson tea in the future. A couple of little admin bits before we begin. Just to let you know, there will not be a podcast next week, unfortunately. I will not be seeing Rich next week, and as you may or may not know, I use all his equipment, his camera and whatnot in order to do the podcast. Unfortunately, we won't be seeing each other next weekend, so I won't be able to record. Before we dive into Whipped Up, there was just one more thing that I wanted to share with you. Some of the lovely girls on my Ravelry group were talking about tea and any recommendations that people had, and through them I heard about the Birdhouse Tea Company, and somebody mentioned this chocolate orange tea, and if you don't know, chocolate orange, yeah it is. I was just thinking, but no, it definitely is my favourite chocolate. I love chocolate orange. I love the zing of the orange. I love the dark of the chocolate. It is just that is my most favourite thing. And I limit myself to only having one for Christmas because I will literally eat the whole thing. But the Co-op does a really nice, really dark chocolate orange bar that you can get in minis, and they're like my little treat when I think that I need perking up or if I'm celebrating. Those are my little treat. So yeah, I love chocolate orange. So when somebody mentioned chocolate orange tea, obviously I had to get some. It smells absolutely beautiful. Just smells so good. I haven't tried any of this yet. As you can see, it is a loose leaf tea, and I am a little bit funny about loose leaf tea. It's not just bunging a tea bag in a cup and pouring hot water on and drinking it. For me, loose leaf tea is more of a ritual. I have a very beautiful teapot and I really enjoy the whole thing of warming the pot, measuring out the leaves, letting it steep, timing it, and then pouring it and really enjoying it. So I didn't really want my first go of it to be on the podcast because I really wanted to sit very quietly and really enjoy it. So I will report back on chocolate orange. Yes, it is part of their Christmas range, but this past week has been so cold and it's been incredibly foggy. I've been snapping lots of fog pictures. I've only shared, I think, one on my Instagram, but it's been really foggy and horrible. It looks quite bright at the moment. I don't expect it to last. But I think January, when it's all grey and grim, is exactly when we need fairy lights and chocolate orange tea. So I'm continuing the Christmas spirit in tea form to keep me cheered up throughout these darker months. Now let's move on to Whipped Up. I'm still at one project Wendy at the moment. I am aiming to get through one stripe of the blanket a week. There are 5 strips in this blanket of complete squares, and then there are triangles down both sides. So in total, that's about 7 stripes I have to do. And I have done 2 complete ones. So I've shown you before, but just as a reminder, this is my completed yellow square. So I've got a few of those which will be going in diamond shapes all the way up, and that'll be row 1. This week I completed row 2, which was this orange square, which is an incredibly bright orange. This is like highlighter orange, and I have to be honest with you, I probably wouldn't have bought it on its own because I'm not super keen on bright colours like this. I'm not, neon is the word, I'm not really into neon. But against the grey, this looks really pretty. And when you hold it up against all the other colours, the yellows and the other shade of orange and the reds, it looks really, really lovely. It looks just right. So I'm glad that I bought this kit and it pushed me slightly out of my comfort zone. But that's my completed orange square. So I've got a few of those, and I've just started row 3, which is called the arrow square. They crochet up really, really quickly. I was almost feeling that I would have row 3 ready to show you this week. So you'd have two new rows to see. Unfortunately, I did pretty much all the work on these. All of them had the first grey border, 3 of them had the orange border. And then on Wednesday night, I ripped them all out and just went straight back to my little flower square. And that was because I wasn't happy with it at all. On Saturday, had settled down to watch a series of unfortunate events, and we were enjoying a couple of gin and tonics, and I was hooking away and watching the show, not really paying any attention to what I was doing. And then on the train, I did a bit more, and I kind of looked at them and went, the edges are kind of ruffling. They were kind of ruffling up like this. And I kept kind of, you know, where you spread them out, don't you? And you go, no, they're fine. When I connect them, they will pull straight. And it got to Wednesday, and I was nearly finished. And I went, no, you can't do this. This is such a special thing that you're making, and you're enjoying it so much. You are going to be absolutely livid when you come to join these, and they won't join properly. So I ripped it all out and did it all again. So I am going to learn from this, and I am going to listen to the wise words of Gigi from the Knitmore Girls, who says, if you don't like it now, you are not going to like it 10 rows later. And whenever I notice something wrong, I am going to rip out immediately and try again. So yeah, that is my plan. I am going to not just blindly bowl ahead and leave it as a problem for future Nikki. It's not fair on future Nikki. I am actually going to stop when I notice a problem. I don't know how much of what you can see behind me, but I have got all of the other colours laid out for a bit of interest on my set. And I have got another shade of orange, which is much darker than the one I'm currently using. I believe it's called Blood Orange. And then I've got 2 shades of red. So there's not actually, when you look at it colour-wise, it doesn't feel like that much left to do. I'm still really enjoying this blanket. I really like the fact that I can pop them in a little bag. In fact, here you go. This is the little bag. I just pop them in here. Whatever colour I happen to be working on at the time, this is the next square, so that's the main colour and the border colour. And I just pop it all in my handbag, take it to work, and then there's never been space on the tube, but on the way home sometimes there is, and I can get a few stitches in then. I crochet on my lunch break, and there have been a couple of times when I've been waiting for something to load on the computer, and it's just there on my desk, and I can just, while I'm waiting, there you go, 2 stitches, carry on. So it's really nice carry around project. I really always forget this about crochet blankets, that when you make them in pieces like this, they are brilliant for handbags. They're brilliant just to take along with you and mindlessly work on, and I really need to remember that more because it's so useful to have something. However, I do have to say that I am getting a little bit bored with just working on this blanket. I have got plenty of time, so I don't want to put it away completely, and I do want to keep working on it, but I do want to be working on some other things. So when Rich came up to visit this weekend, I asked him to bring a little something with him, which he did. Do you remember this from episode 1? This is my Sincerely Louise Make Your Own Prehistoric Pal, and this is the purple Triceratops from her shop. And I have named her Dinah, and I have plans for her. When she is made, she will go into the hallway of our new home when we have it, and I'm going to make a little banner that's going to go around her neck. I was just going to applique with felt that says welcome, and she will go in our hallway and that will hang around her neck, and she will be this beautiful welcome for all of our guests when they arrive. And I actually bought this for my birthday last year at the Knitting and Stitching Show. I was given some money and this is what I spent it on. My birthday is rapidly approaching. It's at the beginning of March. So I've had this almost a year, and every now and again I get it out and I squish the yarn and I play with the needles. They're really nice wooden needles, and I love wooden needles. I wouldn't swap my higher highs or my Chiaogus for most projects, but there's something very nice and tactile and just comforting about wooden needles. I absolutely love them. But I haven't started it yet. It's been all packaged up this entire time. It lived in London with me for a while, it moved to Portsmouth, and now it's moved back to London, and it's about time that I actually made this. We have the green one. It's more of a turquoise, I guess, but we have one hanging up in the office, and it is stunning. It's not too big, it's just the right size. The colour is beautiful. I really, really like the colour. And I just walk past it every day thinking, need to make mine actually. So I'm hoping to spend a little time on this weekend. We are spending some time together, Rich and I, but he is seeing some friends as well who live in London that he doesn't usually get to see. And I'm going to take this time to work on my blanket and get at least the middle sections done of the squares that I need for the next row. And then I am going to cast on my dinosaur head. And literally this morning, my mum found on iPlayer a documentary called Harry Potter and Fantastic Beasts, which I presume is about the making of both, or I don't even really care because it's Harry Potter and it's Fantastic Beasts. And if you know anything about me, then you know that I love this. What better thing to be knitting on when watching a Harry Potter and Fantastic Beasts documentary than your own Fantastic Beast? As I've said, I will be getting a little bit of me time this weekend because Rich will be popping out. And apart from a Harry Potter documentary and knitting, which is probably the most English thing you can do, really, isn't it? Harry Potter, knitting, there will be tea. So, yeah, all of the English stereotypes ticked. But apart from that, I will be having a read of this. This is Wool Tribe. This is the companion for the 2017 Edinburgh Yarn Festival. It arrived this week. I haven't had time to do more than a cursory flick through. I did consider reading it on the train, but it's so beautiful. It reminds me of Pom Pom in its style. It's got a really lovely sturdy cover and really beautiful thick pages. And I just didn't want it to get all wrinkled in my bag, so it's been sat in my room, it's been sat on my bedside table, waiting for me to have the time to read it. And my initial flick through is just, I'm so taken with this. It's absolutely beautiful. And I just wanted to show you very quickly a couple of things that I really loved in here. And the first is this first pattern. This is Ormiston by Francesca Hughes. And this is a wrap with intarsia, with this geometric pattern, and it is beautiful. I have been thinking recently that I would quite like to get a big wrap in order to wear it when it's a bit too warm for a coat but a bit too cool to go without. And this is stunning. This is exactly what I was picturing, and I didn't even consider that I could knit it at all. And I think this is just so beautiful. And this one is knit in Little Grey Sheep Gotland DK. And I love that. I love that it comes, that you know where it comes from, you know what it's from, and I just really like that touch. That's so nice. That's so good. The next one I really fell in love with was Triquare by Amanda B. Collins. And this is this hat and mittens set. And I really, really like the mittens. I would really like to knit these. I like this because it's such an unusual stitch pattern. It's not one that I have seen very often. It's herringbone stitch, which I've heard of but have never seen in use. And I just think they're so unusual looking, and I would absolutely love to knit them. They would be so cute. Also in this magazine there are some really lovely articles with some really beautiful photography. The photography throughout the pieces in here is very, very good. And that really is something that elevates it for me. But my favourite thing is this article here, which includes a walk. And as I said last week, please recommend walks, please recommend places to go. So to have it here is really, really lovely. There's a couple of places mentioned in here that I've shown Rich and we're going to check out. By the way, thank you so very, very much to the people who have left me recommendations. Please keep them coming. I am really, really looking forward to going and trying all these places, and I'm actually keeping a list of them in my bullet journal so that we've got something to refer to when we're there and a bit of a loose end. I'm planning to do a full review of Wool Tribe in my next podcast, but I was so excited about it I just had to share it with you and tell you how much I'm looking forward to reading this and sharing it with you next time. On this week's Knit and Natter, I wanted to give you a little update on where I am at the moment, because I have alluded to the fact that things are in a bit of flux at the moment. I have moved back to London, as you can see, and Rich is still in Portsmouth, which does mean that we are doing the long distance thing, which is not nice. We're managing, but it's not the most fun I've ever had. And we do try and see each other most weekends. Unfortunately, life being what it is, we can't always see each other every weekend. Last year, I completely let my self-care, I just completely let it slide. I was so focused on to-do lists and going and doing and this and that and everything else outside of myself, and really stopped taking the time to just check in on me and make sure that I was okay. So come Christmas, when I stopped, and I was just exhausted. I was mentally and physically just drained, and I've never been so tired. I was absolutely knackered, as they say over here in England, and that was not a very nice feeling, and particularly when I knew that I was about to move back to London and start a new job. That's not how you want to feel when you're starting something new. So I focused very, very much on trying to take good care of myself over Christmas and in the run up to New Year and in the days after New Year before I started my new job. And this was really simple stuff. I slept in, I knitted if I wanted to knit, I read if I wanted to read, I took lots of baths, I gave myself pedicures. All these things that sound frivolous and perhaps even lazy, but were so necessary and made me feel so much better, because every hour that I took for myself, every nice thing that I did for myself was like giving myself a hug. And I don't know if it was the thing itself or the fact that I was now mentally committing to looking after myself. I don't know which it was, what made the best impact, but it worked. And I do feel a lot better. And it is very easy at the moment when I'm working full time and when I'm having to go to Portsmouth a lot, or Rich is coming here, to make time for each other, to make time for friends, to make time for family. And you can see how very easy it is to pile up the plate again or get all the balls back in the air. And I had a little moment this week where I looked at my to-do list and I just had a moment of overwhelm. I joined a gym, which means that my evenings are slightly shorter because I go to the gym after work. It's just around the corner from where I work, which was my way of making sure that I wouldn't skip out on it. But it does mean that I have a commitment there that means my evenings are a little bit shorter. And for a couple of evenings this week, I was pretty tired out after the gym. I just came in, I had some dinner, and I didn't knit. I watched something or I read. And my to-do list was mounting. I had, finish this row, package up these parcels, do this. And I had this panic by midweek of like, I haven't done any of this. I need to get on. I need to do this. I've got so much to do. And do you know what? Everything on my list was on my list as a reminder. They were on my list because I wanted to do them. They were not on there because there was a deadline. They were on there because these were nice things to do and I was hoping to do them this week. And I think it is very, very easy to get caught up in the kind of whirlpool of things to do, and we forget that a lot of the things that we have to do, we put on ourselves. So things like getting this baby blanket finished. It would be great if I can hand it to her before the baby's born, but if she doesn't get it till the baby's 3 months, 6 months, it's absolutely fine. It's the thought that counts. If I didn't get something in the post on the exact day I thought I would, that's absolutely fine. It'll go tomorrow or the next day, as long as it goes. And I'm really making an effort this month to be much less hard on myself, to not expect me to be doing constantly. And it is having a really positive impact. Taking time every Sunday to gather all my nice lush goodies, get a magazine or a book and lay in the bath for an hour is incredibly restorative, and I absolutely love it. Taking a book with me on the tube so that I'm not just focused on the armpit that's right in front of me is also a kind thing that I'm doing to myself. And I would just like to urge everyone, in the spirit of the best year ever, Carol, be kind to yourself. It makes life so much easier. You will be happier. It is so good for your mental health. Take as much as you can, as regularly as you can, and just... I read this thing once where they said that you should treat yourself like a toddler. I think it was Gretchen Rubin in either The Pursuit of Happiness or her Habits book. It was one of those, either The Happiness or The Habits book. And she said, treat yourself like a toddler. Make sure you're getting enough sleep. Make sure that you are eating well. And make sure that you're not cold. And she said that those are the things that can make her really grumpy. And I think they're things that can make us all really grumpy if we're tired or cold or uncomfortable in any way or hungry. And we should treat ourselves like toddlers. We should be gentle with ourselves. We should say, do you know what? You need to put that down and go and get something to eat. Take a nap. Maybe it's time we all did that. So be kind to yourself. It's been a bit of a short one this week, and I do apologise for that, but as I said, I have been pretty tired and I have been trying to be gentle with myself, as we all should be. I won't be back again next week, but I will be back the week after. I hope you will also forgive me for the slight echoiness. I am trying to figure out how I can reduce that next time I have to record here. If you have any tips, do let me know. But in the meantime, I do apologise for that. There are other rooms, but unfortunately this is the one with the best light, and frustratingly there is quite a high wall at the end of the garden, which means that the light changes quite a lot as the sun is with the clouds and the wall, and so apologies for the light dipping up and down. I will attempt to correct it in post-production so that you're like, don't even know what she's talking about. But if I haven't done a great job of correcting that, my apologies. I won't be here next week, as I mentioned earlier in the podcast, but I will be back the week after, and I'm hoping to get a couple of videos out this week anyway, so do look out for those. In the meantime, be kind to yourself. Have a lovely, lovely week, and I will see you for a cup of tea in a couple of weeks. Take care, bye.